Well, hello there. This is Zhuravlev the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Now, just published on Amazon is my new book, 50+2 Chess Quick Wins, $13.99. Get your copy now. Now, those of you who follow my channel will know that recently I've been trying to learn more about the Vienna game Max Lange. So the Vienna game in the Max Lange defense. And today I've got another game down that line, but where Black played a move that was a little bit unexpected for me. And so in this game we'll have a look on what happened and what we should have done. Let's go take a look. So I've got the white pieces, and it begins of course with the Vienna game Max Lange. So that's e4, e5, knight c3. So that's a Vienna game. The opponent defends with the Max Lange defense, and now the immediate f4. The Vienna game in the Max Lange defense. Now in this game, my opponent played a somewhat unexpected bishop to b4, very aggressive immediate pressure on my queen's knight. Now this looks a little bit like the Zhuravlev Countergambit. Now what's that? Well, if you're not familiar with that, that is where after the Vienna, so after knight c3, Black immediately plays bishop b4. So that's the Zhuravlev Countergambit. The difference here is that I haven't got my pawn on f4 and the opponent hasn't got their knight on c6. So in this position, in the game, I was wondering, would I be able to use the same sort of tactics that I would normally use against the Zhuravlev? Now, against this, I've recently been playing queen to g4, so like a giraffe attack or giraffe-ish attack type move, immediately pressuring the pawn on g7, which is now available because Black has moved their bishop early. However, I wasn't sure whether or not that would work in this setup because Black already has their knight out and my pawn is in that position. So there is now an attack. And also it means that a queen won't be looking at potentially that diagonal either. Again, my pawn is in the way. However, now this was a daily game. I opted not to think too hard, and I played it anyway. Here I've sort of given it a very sneaky move, but it's kind of a mistake. It's kind of a mistake, but Black needs to play accurately. Now this was, as I mentioned, a daily move. It's a tournament game between Team Australia and England under 1400s. The best move to play actually was knight to d5. The immediate knight to d5, a very powerful move. The problem with this move, where the knight is already potentially defending these squares, is that Black can simply play the other knight. And basically me capturing that pawn doesn't really work because what happens is my queen ends up getting chased here, then potentially even sort of the rook here, and basically my queen gets chased all over the place. I'm actually fine. In this position, it's roughly -1, -1.3, but it's unpleasant for white. However, Black needs to find that move. What I'm actually doing here, though, is I'm trying to bait Black to move their queen to f6. And that's what actually happened. It's a blunder, and it's a blunder of about +4 because Black now will be forced to lose their rook. Why, you might ask? Well, I've now got knight with a powerful move to d5. So here, effectively, Black cannot defend both the c pawn and the g pawn while moving their queen, because they have to move their queen because it's under attack. They can't defend both, and in this setting they're going to lose their rook. So here, this is a very powerful move for me, and this is actually the best move in this position. So this is the move to know. Against this position, we probably need to do something about that bishop right away. So one way to do it is to immediately play knight to d5, counterattacking the bishop, basically winning a bit of tempo. A3 is potentially okay as well. You could ignore it. You could just play the other knight. That's kind of all right too. In a Zhuravlev, you've got d4, but it doesn't work here because it's defended two ways. So here, that is the best move. Anyway, moving forward again. So here, I jump my knight forward, d5, the queen's knight to d5. A very powerful tactic. Again, it's one of the tactical ideas in my book. Have a look at this book. And here, black is basically in some trouble. And they opt to trade queens. That's fine for me. We go to a queenless game. And now, knight captures c7 with check. Absolute fork. King, interestingly, moved here. That's not right. They should move here because then it prevents my knight from escaping. I capture the rook. And in this position, all I need to do is to not stuff up. I need to consolidate. And then I should be able to grind out a win in the middle game and end game up material. Because of my lack of development and because the queens aren't on the board, there's not going to be an immediate quick win. A quick win is unlikely to be possible in this position. So they bring the bishop all the way back. That's the best move to basically to prevent my knight from evacuating. So they've lost material, but this knight is likely to be out of the game for some time. Now I decide 2 squares away, basically what it does is it prevents this knight from advancing. They take, that's fine. I now take a d4 and here, and I end up now having a double attack on that pawn. They move that pawn, and notice this sadness on the king side. Double pawns on the g file, double pawns on the f file, and basically this side of the board, the king side of the board, is pretty much locked. There's no point for me to try to challenge this side. It's basically too strong. All my attack now is going to be on the queen side. And the interesting thing here is in this game, these 4 pawns don't move again. Now, attack their knight. Forced to move, that's okay. Now I get to advance my knight. They bring the bishop all the way back. Now this, my knight is hemmed in, but it's okay. It's not lost. And my idea here is to double defend that square, basically, with a chance of evacuating or at least trading one of black's pieces. They have to move the king back, and this is kind of the reason why the king needed to go to that square to begin with. So they sort of wasted a move here. Now that's double defended. That knight is trapped, but it's okay. So my goal now, king having to guard here on the queen side. The strategy really is to push these queen side pawns potentially to wreak havoc and potentially try to promote. Knight here, that's fine. Remember, nothing is going to happen on this side. Pawn here, again, when you have these 2 intervening squares, basically the knight's forward advance is blocked. That knight is basically in the wrong place. Yep, that doesn't do anything. Let's cover that. Again, diagonal piece, 2 squares away from the opponent's knight. This prevents their forward advance. Attack my knight, that's okay. Trading pieces is fine for me. Come on, let's do it. I take this way. Okay, so now potentially everything can move forward and also have the open A file for my rook. So that's very, very good. So I decide to, let's just sacrifice that knight. I didn't have to do it, but I was getting a little bit impatient. So take, I expected them to take, and now I've got a fully open A file, potentially very, very useful for my rook. So attack, now that basically draws the bishop to one of those 2 squares. Oh, no, they decide to move their king. Yes, that's what they had to do, wasn't it? Because otherwise, bang, that would have been a very, very nice skewer. But they saw through that, that's okay. Push these pawns. Remember, these pawns want to move forward. They bring the knight, that's fine. Push, captures, undoubling. Now they're all on the 5th file. They try to move, that's fine. Let's trade. Takes, push, check. Here, that's okay. I'm going to give an attack, and this knight has some trouble, doesn't really have very many good places to go, has to bring itself back over here. That's good. Now here I need to bring my king to that square because otherwise there's a potential fork here. So there we go. They attack, bishop here, they give another attack, rook here. So one of the good things about daily games is that you've actually got potentially plenty of time to calculate this out. I'm not sure I would have correctly played that if it wasn't for a daily game. And sometimes with daily games, I just rush out moves, but here, because it was complicated, I actually did try to calculate it out. And I was very gratified in the analysis that this was, in fact, the best move. So there we go, defend, and basically, Black's king is all cramped in this position. It's in trouble. And here they make a blunder. They wanted to move the king out of the attack, but that fully open A file, that is now pinned, the bishop, and now place pressure on the pin piece. That bishop's going to be lost next turn. Black, emotional damage, opted to resign. Good game, GG. The big takeaway from this game is learning the best continuity to bishop b4 in the max Lange Vienna Gambit. The best move is the immediate knight d5, though a3 is okay as well. There is a spiciness to the move I made, so the Giraffe-ish attack, queen g4, however there is a risk of that backfiring. I hope you enjoyed this video and thanks for watching.